And that's on Facebook.
Did you see the film?
Those all run.
Send it out to the group.
Oh, yeah.
Now, future.
William, Erica.
I'll take it.
Yes, I guess.
Yeah. Look next to that. Back it in a little bit, everybody. We'll authorize you to take the mask off. Yeah.
Mask off for a minute. Don't breathe. Oh, yeah.
Gee, and come just a little bit.
One, two, three.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Miami Springs. Happy birthday to you.
Especially with a mask on.
Yeah.
Want to blow it out?
No.
No.
Nobody else.
Okay.
Maybe somebody can picture.
No way.
Hey,
Whoa, thank you, Tim.
And we're gonna have everyone who wants to.
Thank you, Mayor.
Help yourselves.
Yeah.
Almost home. How about it?
Okay, so. Let's see, we're going to move to 4B, the Rotary Club drawing. And it's really always a pleasure to have the Rotarians here in Miami Springs. You do so much for our community constantly, and it's not just at our community. I know the work that you do, and I've said this many times, goes far beyond Miami Springs. You're just a service organization that nationally and internationally, you're just always finding ways to make life better for everyone around us. So we're very, very grateful. And so with that, we're going to have do one of you want to briefly explain the raffle?
Should have brought my dog.
Tom? Because this is, okay, this is the second year
Yeah.
of this raffle? Third?
Yes, please.
Skip last.
All right. Well, dining out for a year this is now, I think, the third annual that our club has done. And we sell tickets. We reach out to the restaurants in the community. We ask them to donate a gift certificate of between $50 and $75. And then we take at least 12 of them. I think this year we have 13, but we take them and then we sell tickets. So our club was selling 250 tickets at $25 each. And then the lucky winner, who we will find out tonight because Mayor Mitchell will draw, gets the tickets, gets all of the gift certificates. So then that way they're able to eat out once a month for a year. So that is the impetus behind the project. And with COVID and having a lot of our traditional fundraisers being lessened or impossible, this has been a really important one. So thank you, Mayor Mitchell. Thank you, the community, for participating. We were able to sell all of the tickets, and we look forward to doing good things with the funds that you all entrust us with.
Wonderful.
Nice.
And what a fun event. I mean, what a fun opportunity for whoever wins to have a year of dining out at all these cool restaurants, here in the Springs. And I think even some are just outside of the Springs too, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's all go in the front and join in the raffle and the Rotary Club too. If you could come up, we'll all do it together.
Dig into the bowl.
Look up, everybody.
Hang on. Lucky winner. Elsa Saavedra. She won last year. Yes. You won last year too? Won last year too. She did. I won Aldo. Well, because she also won like three. You know who won that? I did. I did, I swear. No. I hope Aldo. No, that's Aldo. You know Aldo? That's his wife. Elsa Saavedra.
I'll just text a picture of this to the Rotary. That's it?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
Again, thank you, Rotary, for everything y'all do.
No, no me di cuenta.
I'm actually gonna put on this mask.
Esto no fue el que me dieron a mí.
No, no, que se te va a pensar, ah, se come, se lo va a comer, pero no lo boté, lo boté en la basura.
Ah,
Menos mal.
Y el ojito se lo
Hey,
a ella.
Our next agenda item is the recognition of the Artist of the Month, but I don't believe Mr. Fermin Farrow is here tonight. Okay, we'll send him his recognition. All right, so the next agenda item is open forum, and we have one person scheduled to, signed up to speak. Our honored Mikey.
Off the mask to speak.
It's okay.
Michael Gavilla, 684 Morningside Drive. Well, Poinciana United Methodist Church is going to be hosting the prayer of the council instead of the prayer of the candidates like we do normally. It will be on November 4th at 6:30. And everybody, even including residents, are invited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mikey.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, the next agenda item is the approval of the council minutes.
Through the chair, a motion to move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just to be specific here, that would be item C, references A, B, and C.
Yes, I'm sorry. Does anyone want to pull out any of these three item 6A, B, and C to speak about? Okay, so we're approving all three of them.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor. And we have a second on it. So call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Best,
Hi.
Councilwoman Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Next agenda item, reports from boards and commissions, none. I do have a question regarding that with the boards. For the next meeting, Erica, we had agreed that we would ask the boards the advisory boards to, on a staggered basis, come before the council once a year and let us know, what they've been up to, let us know how we can help them and have that kind of communication. So for the next meeting, could you provide us with a schedule
Okay.
of, and I'm guessing, this is just a suggestion, probably if you pick a month and it's that board's meeting, then they can make either the first meeting or the second meeting of the month. It's up to them.
Okay.
But work with the boards to make sure that those months would work with them. Okay, thank you. Yes,
Were we not going to do the yard of the month? Or-
he's not here again.
Okay,
So,
all right.
yes, for the yard of the month, the homeowner's not here, so we'll send them their certificate
Thank you, man.
for August. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, the next agenda item is number 8, public hearings. We have an ordinance second reading.
I think Heidi, you want me to read that, Heidi, or you're going to read that?
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. I can read the ordinance, Chair, no problem. This is an ordinance of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, amending Chapter 32 of the city's Code of Ordinances by creating Article 17, Nuisance Abatement Board, authorizing the creation of an administrative board with the authority to impose fines and other non-criminal penalties to abate certain activities declared public nuisances pursuant to Section 893.138 Florida statutes, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. This is actually at this point our third reading, which will count as second reading. The ordinance has remained the same from our last meeting. In your agenda backup, you have some information that's been provided by the police department on properties that could potentially fall within the purview of this ordinance. And I think you've all been briefed as to the extent that properties would be subject to a complaint. I think that the numbers that we anticipated based on last year's numbers were much higher, but it seems that a lot of the activity that would rise to the level of this type of nuisance has, no pun intended, been somewhat abated over the last year, which is a good thing. So with that, I don't know if you have anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this ordinance, but otherwise you can move forward with discussion or a vote.
Mayor, I had a question.
Yes. Heidi, do I have to open it up for public hearing before we discuss it?
You may.
Okay. Let's do that 1 second, just so we've heard before we discuss. I'm opening a public hearing on this ordinance. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this? All right, that closes the public hearing. We don't have anyone virtually,
No.
Erica? Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. Heidi, so we were given a list of 3 properties then that in the last 7 months where this criteria to be applied would have been flagged as potentially being a nuisance. Can you just kind of, for the record, run us through what had this ordinance been in place, what would have been next steps with those 3 properties that were identified?
So any property that would have been subject to, any property then or like now, that would be subject to the ordinance would receive a notice. Once, let me take a step back. The police department is going to receive a complaint or initiate a complaint themselves based on the police reports and activity that they see at one of these properties. The department will review, see what the allegations are, whether it actually falls within the definition of a public nuisance pursuant to this very specific statute. A notice will be sent to the property owner advising them of this complaint, requiring them to come into compliance within a certain time frame. And if they fail to come into compliance, they'll be scheduled for a hearing before the Nuisance Abatement Board, where the Nuisance Abatement Board will have the authority to go as far as shutting down the business for if they do find that a public nuisance exists. So this doesn't remove the city's ability to take the action that we've taken in other instances of filing an independent lawsuit to enjoin, to stop a nuisance. But this is another avenue that we could take.
And so Heidi, another question. So at what point, if I'm assuming that many of these complaints would come from the police department themselves, right? Since they're the ones that are responding and are more attuned to what's happening. Is there, as these things come up, will they themselves create the complaint, or is there like a time, in the month, is there like a time threshold by which you kind of review and create the complaint?
The department can create its own complaint, so that any council member, any resident in the city, any property owner can file a complaint. The police department can initiate the complaint themselves. And then obviously, like you said, there
I think you muted there for a second, Heidi.
The host muted me. I don't know where I got cut off, but basically the department can initiate a complaint themselves, as can any of you, any member of the public, in accordance with the procedures in the ordinance. So like you mentioned, the police department is obviously going to be the ones, other than the property owners, I would suspect, the most attuned to which properties are subject to a potential complaint. So yes, they can absolutely file a complaint, and then it would, again, the notice would be sent out. Our office would be consulted as well prior to taking the property owner or business to the nuisance abatement board. So we'll review it before it gets to an actual hearing to make sure that legally we're comfortable prosecuting the case, and it goes from there.
So just, and I hate to kind of belabor it, but so it's more than 2 occasions. So 3 instances within a 6-month period. And obviously time is going. And and Chief, I hate to focus on you guys, but it seems like you guys are going to be doing most of it. So, or at least like Heidi said, you'll be more attuned to it. So are you guys going to just kind of keep track as kind of anecdotally as things come up, and then, look back as it been within the 6 time period, or do we try to look at it, every couple of months and see where people are at, or what's your thought?
Well, for right now, we're going to establish a system, I guess, where we keep track of these types of incidents. If we're responding to a location
right,
several times, and it fits the criteria, we'll write up the report, we'll develop a log, and within that 6-month period, and we'll forward the information to the board.
It strikes me also that like just a private resident probably would not be able to kind of provide the context, right? Like this is something that has happened 3 times over a 6-month period, the way the police can. So like if a resident observes something once, right, observes like what looks like prostitution or a drug deal or something happening, they can report it to the police just like they would report anything that they see, right? But it would definitely be on the police to keep track, I'm assuming.
We would have to document it.
Yeah, right.
And to make things a little easier for the public who wishes to make these types of complaints, we're going to create a form that is a form complaint, similar to what you would file. I think I've said this before. Similar to when you have a small claims case in court or an eviction case, that you can just fill in the blanks and make it very user friendly. But ultimately, the police department will review these things. And hopefully we're not getting an influx of complaints just because people think there may be a nuisance. And so you suddenly get, bombarded with complaints that may not have an actual factual background. So it will go through the police department first.
Yeah, it would be up to us to either confirm and I don't want to discourage folks from not calling us.
Right.
Because, every eyes out there helps us.
Sure.
But it would be up to us to verify. We have had occasions where folks have called us or anonymous tip and it's panned out, and we have occasions that it hasn't.
Right.
I also want to be, keep in mind that we do have not many, thank God, knock on wood, neighbors that don't see eye to eye, that they did this or they did that. So I don't want, it's something we'll have to keep in check also, make sure that that's not the case.
Yeah, and I'm sorry it's going to be kind of more work on you guys, but it seems like this is something that can work to kind of hold people accountable for.
It's just another tool.
A disproportionate amount of frequency of that kind of activity. So
it's just another tool.
Yep. Thank you.
And it seems like when we have an issue like this, it winds up being just a really, really big issue. Hopefully, like Heidi said, right now, we're not having them, but at least we have something in place to address that.
I have a question for Counselor. Counselor, yes, on the issue of the complaint form for a neighbor, for instance, I write a complaint or anyone here writes a complaint. There is, I would assume there's some form of due process here. In other words, someone has to go before this complaint board. They have a chance to defend themselves, question the sources or the information. Are these complaint forms anonymous or are they part of the record?
No, okay, so the
The
complaint.
question I'm asking is this: I make a complaint against one of my neighbors. The neighbor's going to know that I made the complaint. Is that the case?
Keep in mind that the nuisance abatement is dealing with criminal activity.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you make a complaint, but we still have to,
Right.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Heidi, we still have to verify yes or no.
That's
So I have
correct. The complaint form itself is a public record once it's submitted. Unless there's something in that complaint that is exempt or confidential under the public records law, then that part would be exempt or confidential, but the actual complaint itself would not be, it's not anonymous. And just as an aside, on a related note, the Florida legislature passed a law this year that effectively prevents anonymous code compliance complaints from coming in. So.
Thank you.
Heidi, I had one more question, Mayor, if you will allow me. So when this comes into effect, and maybe you could talk to us about the timetable, does that retroactively, because we're looking at the 3 people who we gamed out based on the criteria, some pretty serious criminal activity. If they're within the 6-month window, so if I'm making up if September 1st, this goes into effect, are we looking back 6 months and notifying those people, or do we start the clock new and now we got to wait 6 months in order to see if there's 3 incidents? Because that's important for the people who are on this list, because they're kind of like on the hook within the next 6 months. Obviously, as time goes on, that they might get off the hook, but when will this snap into place? And then will we immediately then look 6 months back and then notify those people about a nuisance?
So the timetable, the ordinance takes effect as soon as it's adopted by council. So if you adopt it tonight, it's effective today. Realistically, if a complaint were to be filed tomorrow, and the property had incurred, if it meets the criteria within the past 6 months, then yes, it would be subject to this complaint.
Because it strikes me that these are places that habitually have this kind of activity that has been kind of, the focus of the consternation of a lot of residents. So once this goes into effect, it seems like it seems like this is something that right away we can address.
Right. So if one of those properties were, for example, to have a second or third violation in the next month, and they've now met, looking back the 6 months, they've met that criteria of having had one of these instances in the last 6 months, then we could proceed with a case.
But the 3 people on the list, though, they already have 3 instances in the last 6 months from today, right? From when you did that list? Is that?
Remember that it's not a combination. So when you look at the ordinance, when you look at the actual ordinance language and the definition, and I'm looking at line 63, it's page 2 of 9 of the actual ordinance. So it's not the series that's listed there. I'm sorry, at line 45. The series that's listed from lines 46 to 64, those are really, it's any of those things. So it's on more than 2 occasions as in violation of section 796. So it has to be 2 of that violation.
Or more than 2, right? So it can't just be 2, it's got to be 3.
I'm sorry, yes, on that one, it's more than 2, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, right, in some, it's more than 2, I see. So, but the assumption is that the chief used this criteria to give us that list. So were we
Correct.
to approve this today, they are it, right? I mean, they officially have a nuisance based on this criteria, and then something could be done about it as soon as we would move on it.
As if it's reported to the police, that's the key here is that
But they can create a complaint, right? Like this is going to fall mostly on the police because they're the ones who are going to keep track of the criminal activity. And if they receive a complaint from a resident, they're going to have to verify that it was in fact criminal activity. So they're the ones that are really going to have to, they're going to be, the tip of the spear when it comes to creating these complaints. And they've already gone through the exercise of determining who would have been a nuisance in the last 6 months. So once we wrote this into place, they're a nuisance by this definition. So I just want to, as we go to vote now, like, are we going to do something with this now once we approve it?
So
If I may-
what we anticipated doing was sending a letter to the properties that are subject to a potential complaint. From what we've seen in the last 6 months in 2021, there's no locations that meet the criteria of the ordinance.
That's what I was just going to say.
Okay.
That those are some that are close, but they have not
Close.
exactly met the criteria.
Right. So we had, and I think, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing.
Sure.
I think it reflects a trend of decreased issues, let's call them. And in 2020, obviously, we saw a lot of this type of activity. And I think that the actions that we took with one particular property probably made its way to other property owners in the area who probably started changing the way they do things, is my suspicion. So I think that's why perhaps we've seen a decline in the types of incidents. And I don't know if the chief would, I hope the chief would agree with me on that, but I won't put words in his mouth. But I think as far as 2021 statistics, what the police department is explaining to us is that none of the properties there's no property that would be subject to a nuisance abatement complaint as of right now. That's not to say that this weekend a property doesn't
Sure.
get 2 of these types of complaints or charges, and then we move forward with a nuisance abatement complaint.
Thank you. And I appreciate that because I know that we had received a request for like what the list, who has met it. So nobody has met it. This is a list of people that are close,
Correct.
but have not met it. So that's important to kind of state that publicly that right now nobody has met it, but some people are close. Okay. Thank you so much for your work. I appreciate it. And thank you, Heidi.
Through the chair, if I might.
yes, sir.
I guess this is directed to the chief. Chief, due to the nature of the type of crimes that this board would bring or look at, see and listen to, is there a danger that in some way they could interfere with police work if you are per se surveilling something and you want to keep it undercut?
I'm not sure I understand your question. I apologize.
The recent runway in situation we had,
Correct.
that was under surveillance for quite a while.
We were working it, yes.
If somebody happened that was involved in the criminal activity had noted that due to the complaint registered to a board such as this, would have blown your whole investigation. Could.
Okay, so I guess what you're saying is the nuisance abatement would
Is
have
that
shut
like you said
down.
earlier? or-
Well, I think we definitely would have continued our operation, and based on what we had gathered up to that point, we make a decision whether we have enough to get a search warrant, make arrests, or whatever the case may be. But
yeah,
there was so many things going on there
yeah.
that
Just- So like you said,
we would have made arrests either way.
like you said, initially, it's more of
I
a
can
tool
also add to
than,
that.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to add to that, Chief. I think this is where, at the state attorney's office, you always hear about prosecutorial discretion. And I think that's where in that type of case, in working with the chief and the police department, we would determine whether it's more appropriate to bring a separate action like we did in that case, or pursue it under this ordinance. The hearings on this type of case, it doesn't necessarily need to be it's at the next available hearing date, that it's gets scheduled. So if the complaint is deemed to be valid and I suppose, capable of being prosecuted. So
Yeah.
we would work together to make that determination.
If there's a situation where we have an extensive investigation like we did at the runway, we can forego going the nuisance abatement road and say, we're going to get more bang for our buck if we go this way with several arrests and things like that.
I guess I guess where I was going with that, Chief, was that you guys, like you said initially, it's just another tool in your box.
Correct.
I don't see this board meeting very often at all, based on the way you guys do your business.
Well, if the trend continues like it has in 2021, then we may not need to meet in 2021. But we'll see.
Thank you, sir.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And Heidi, you had mentioned that it's at the board's discretion whether or not to follow through on it, right? So if there was any danger that something were going to undermine an ongoing investigation, you could.
Well, it would be up to us also, since
Right.
we're investigating the complaint.
Right.
And
you
we're
could
conducting an
decide.
investigation. I would say, wait a second, we're not going to follow up on the nuisance abatement complaint because this is
You have
much
discretion
more
to do so.
extensive.
Right. Before it
Okay.
ever makes it to the public nuisance abatement board,
Right.
it's
I
gonna be
gotcha.
considered, the chief and I are gonna get on a phone call and then we're gonna talk. And we're
Wonderful.
gonna figure out what the appropriate strategy is.
Great. Thank you.
Chair? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
This can only help us in every sense possible, and this can also help Chief create a case. So let's say we didn't have, you weren't working on a specific case, but then we were already drawing a timeline for a specific property that was, fell under this nuisance and abatement board. It can probably even help you build a case. So if you had to, take a route of action together with our legal counsel, I think it would execute a lot efficiently as well. So it can't hurt us.
No, I don't think it can
at
hurt at all.
all. If anything, it'll bring some awareness to us where instead of you going individually creating a case, it's already building up here on this timeline. And then we take it just like what you said before.
Mm.
So there's a lot more pros to this abatement board than there is cons. And we're dealing with a lot of changes around our perimeter of our city. And whatever tool that we can have to help better our measures of security is always. a
You're not going to
positive for
get
sure.
any pushback from the police department on the nuisance abatement board.
And
Definitely.
you guys are gonna, categorize this efficiently. I mean, we have a list of instructions you guys are gonna go by. And if you ever have a doubt, just like that, we just call Heidi and clarify it. But everything pretty is black and white here as far as categorizing. And maybe on the complaint sheet, maybe we can put there the definitions so that when people are going to fill out this application, there's, okay, does this property fall within da. If all of their answers are no, then maybe they shouldn't be filling out that application. Maybe they should be dealing with community affairs, sort of say. So I think we'll be fine. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I have one more question, Mayor. Heidi, on line 51, where it says on one occasion is the site of the unlawful possession of a controlled substance, which constitutes a felony. I guess the felony is there because one of the properties on the list of being close has several possession of controlled substances. Is that they didn't make the cut because it wasn't felony possession?
Are you asking me? sir?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have the list in front of me. I'm sorry. I
okay,
didn't know you were going to, well, I didn't bring the list with me. Sorry.
okay.
We'll
Any other
look at the list, Councilman, and we'll make sure that if it does fall within that one where it's just one occasion, then we can proceed. And if there's any property that should be on the list that went unnoted, and I don't think that's the case, but if it is, we will send a courtesy notice first, letting the property owner know, hey, this ordinance was just adopted. It looks like your site may be the subject of a potential complaint. And if you don't take action, we'll be proceeding under this ordinance.
Can I just ask then, Chief, if you could just review the list that you submitted? It seems like the first property has 5 incidents, and it looks like 3 or 4 of them are of that nature. And if I'm reading number 3 here in the ordinance 51, it says on one occasion. I just to make sure that we know whether or not this one actually met or the criteria or not.
Will do.
Thank you.
And Councilman, are you talking about the property on page 2 of the list?
I've got a list that was that staff sent out to the council group. It's a 1-page PDF, and it's nuisances from February 1st of 2021 to July 31st of 2021. And it has 3 properties.
It's an old list, yes. Okay.
Sorry.
We provided another 2-page list that
Okay.
included for 2020, so you could see what it was like in 2020.
Right.
I think that was included in the packet.
But
right?
Yeah.
this is the 2021.
This,
Yes,
see what you're
I'm sorry, now I understand the confusion. There was a list that was prepared that had 2021 numbers. I think the 2021 numbers reflected that it wouldn't necessarily rise to a case. And that's where there's,
Sure.
Has some additional information.
Good evening. If you read on from that one issue regarding possession of a controlled substance, which equates to a felony, if you continue reading, it gets into more for possession with intent to distribute, sale, etc. So you have to meet both of those elements for that to kick in. They're not separate. That's why initially when we submitted this, we thought we did have some cases.
Gotcha.
But then council came back and said, those are not separate. You have to have all of that together in that one
Gotcha.
section.
Gotcha.
That's why, unfortunately, well, the way I look at it is, unfortunately, we thought we had those
Gotcha.
3 properties and it
Gotcha.
didn't.
Okay. Thank you, Caps. Thank you, Heidi.
Okay.
welcome.
Questions from the council? Heidi, I have a few. You mentioned, did I hear you mention that we're going to let properties, and not specifically the ones that are, I mean, of course those, but also all other properties. How are we going to let them know that this is in place, that this is new business, new way of doing business in our city? Because I think the benefit of this, initial benefit of this, is for a business to know that we have this in place, you know, for a violator to know that this is in place and not want to get there, and especially after they have 1 violation in some of these, but they don't get to number 2. Because once they get to number 2 and number 3, and we have to go through all the administrative and legal and everything to get there, hopefully we can avoid that. And that's what I see is the really big benefit of having this in place, is the teeth to kind of snarl and, you know, and they stay away from here.
Well,
So can we do something to?
Of sending a letter to all these businesses that we've identified that are close to or have had prior violations. But at the same time, getting to your point, we could provide a letter to all the businesses, just letting
Would
them
like to
know
see
that
that to,
this
you
is
know,
on the books now, just so they understand what.
because I think what happens a lot with, you know, a lot of ordinances and different things is all of a sudden people go, well, when did that happen? I haven't heard, you know, it's never been. So now that we're doing something new, I think it's important to get the message out to, and equally across, not just to the ones that we know are problems, but to anyone else, so that they're, you know, particularly cautious and don't get to that point.
Yeah, I think it'd be good policy to address each business, you know, individually. Yeah, go en masse with it. That'd take care of it once and for all. Without favoritism, I mean, not just select the ones that we've had
That are
previous
having
problems. Everybody,
exactly. Just let everyone
Just
know.
let everybody.
and,
it wouldn't take it
recommend that.
wouldn't be that costly really to do that.
Okay, is there anything else on here? Any more discussion? All right, call the vote, please.
I need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
Motion to approve.
Motion,
Motion to approve.
second.
Second.
All right.
Vice Mayor Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you. Okay, the next agenda item, I lost my agenda, is 9, the consent agenda for 9A and B. Does anyone want to pull out one of these two items for discussion? Okay, then I'll accept the motion to pass both of them.
Through the chair, motion to move the consent agenda 9A and B.
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Behet.
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Old business, we have nothing, so we'll move to item 11A under new business, and this
This
is
is a
a
resolution of the
resolution.
Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, approving a third amendment to the professional services agreement with American Traffic Solutions Incorporated, DBA Vera Mobility, for camera systems and services relating to the monitoring and enforcement of red light traffic violations, and authorizing the purchase of additional automatic license plate readers, AOPRs, equipment in an amount not to exceed budgeted funds, providing for authorization, providing for an effective date. The city's original contact with American Traffic Solutions, which is attachment B of your packet, was signed on August 22nd, 2011 for a 5-year term. A subsequent second amendment to the contract was signed on November 15, 2016, which is attachment C. The company has provided a 5-year extension, attachment A, which maintains the current cost per camera of $42.50 per month. The city currently has 5 red light cameras citywide. The renewal document also addresses under paragraph 2 technology advancements that are now available, such as automated license plate recognition system, LPR technology, which was not available to us back in 2016. The cost per ALPR is $179 per month, or $2,148 annually. Police are recommending we install 3 new ALPRs as shown in attachment D, one on Norfolk, Poinciana and Crane, one on Ludlam and Lafayette, and the third one on Curtis and Fairway Drive. See the maps that our police have provided on pages 8 to 17. The total cost for these ALPRs would be $6,444 annually, which would be paid from the fines generated by the program. These 3 ALPRs would then give us a total of 5 license plate readers citywide, which would cover almost every entrance except one in the city, which I know the police wanted to put one on South Royal, Poinciana, but because of the coming project, the median, we want to wait till after that
Makes sense.
to do that one. Another major benefit of this program, aside from traffic safety, is that video and high definition digital photos captured by the red light cameras have provided the police department with evidence that has assisted in the solving of several crimes which otherwise would have gone unsolved. As you can see below, the program has generated net revenues of almost $3.6 million over this period of time. The revenues for 2014, 15, 16, and 20 have decreased due to the fact that 2 of the cameras were down for some time due to constructions in the area and new Miami-Dade traffic maintenance protocols. The program to date shows that less than 5% of the violators are Miami Springs residents. Mr. Orlando Torres from American Traffic Solutions, Vera Mobility, as well as Captain Deal and the chief are here tonight to answer any questions you may have. And just as fiscally, the total cost of this program is offset by the fines imposed by these cameras. So the revenues that I'm showing you below, the annual revenues, are net of all program costs.
Mr. Torres, you're here? Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you, William. Any questions from the council?
Nope.
Mr. Torres? I have one, the cameras that were down, was that they were down because they needed repairs or because there was construction work? I know sometimes if there's construction in the vicinity, we don't have them operating, or it was.
So first of all, good evening to everyone. My name is Orlando Torres. I'm a director of account management with now Vera Mobility, same company, new fancy name, but nonetheless, the cameras were down due to FDOT construction. So they came off site. We removed them. We put them in storage, then we put them back out. But in the case of these 2 cameras, we went ahead and upgraded those cameras for you at our cost to HD quality cameras. But the time that it was out, they were not billed, and we just rebuilt them back when the construction was completed.
Okay. Do the cameras operate the majority of the time?
They operate at a very high efficiency. And we track every system daily, nightly, and we know when a camera comes off site. If it's a technical issue, we have an automated ticket system that realizes that the cameras are down. It's either manually open and the technician is sent, or it can be remotely fixed. Cameras are reset and calibrated every night.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
And let me just mention that while during this period of time that the cameras were down, they don't charge us the monthly fees for those particular cameras.
Okay. All right. Well, it's certainly the revenues that come in it are very impressive and helpful, and it's also good to hear that you said less than 5% of the violators are Miami Springs residents.
Yes, it's been a great partnership. You guys have made a commitment a long time ago, and the program is a low maintenance program. It's a user-friendly program. The team that operates at the police department are very open to the public. So it's really a program that doesn't have a lot of pushback. The positive, if you will, or the negative is that you've got still the majority of them, 95% of the violators are not from the city, not from Miami Springs, but are driving through your community. So you're using the technology to protect your residents. And now we're able to enhance it a little bit with the HD video, enhance it further with the license plate readers. So again, it's a great opportunity to enhance the program further.
The license plate readers feature is awesome. That's
It is.
just,
It's a wonderful tool. And today, like everything, we have to do more with less, and technology becomes a force multiplier for your police department. And it lets you further protect the community. And it's something that's funded by people breaking the law in your community. It's a great thing.
Any
Through the chair?
questions?
I was
Yes,
going to make
yes,
a
sir.
motion to approve.
Motion to approve, okay.
I'll second it.
Second it. All right, any other discussion? Call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Best.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Behet.
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
And thank you
Thank
to
you.
the
Thank
police
you, Chief.
department for
Thank you.
Hey,
working
Chief.
hand in hand with them.
How are the officers doing? The COVID?
One of the officers came back to work yesterday. So we have 3 out. Officer Figueredo has pneumonia. He did go to the hospital, urgent care actually, but his oxygen saturation level is at 96%, so that's good. And Sergeant Fetters has just got a very strong cough and is feeling weak. Officer Castellano, she's the last one that tested positive, and she's got some flu-like symptoms. So, but Officer Marrero came back to work yesterday or Sunday. Yeah.
Well, share our concerns and our prayers with
Thank you
them.
very much. Appreciate it. I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you, Chief Deal. Captain Deal, excuse me. Mhm. Okay, moving right along. The next agenda item is 11
B.
B.
This is a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, rescinding and repealing resolution number 2019-3841, which urged the Miami-Dade County Transportation Planning Organization to confirm and accelerate the allocation of funding for the Miami Springs Okeechobee Station Smart Trail Connector, providing for authorization and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, I just wanted to mention that, well, that this is something that obviously has caused a lot of concern within the community. You know, I feel very strongly that the community needs, you know, has the right to decide what they think is best. By far, the people that we heard from the community were against this project. So my understanding, Heidi, is all we're doing is just rescinding the resolution. There's no new resolution, right?
It is a new resolution, but the resolution rescinds the prior resolution.
A new resolution to rescind the prior one. So that's
Correct.
okay.
Yeah, but there's no new ask, in other words.
Right. Okay. And I've been told, I know, I've heard that the funding for it it's from the Federal Transportation Administration, which whenever we get grants for our community, you know, it's a shame that they're not used in our community. They are going to go, my understanding is for the Ludlam Trail, for connectivity with the Ludlam Trail. So it'll continue with which is not, let me make it clear, not the Miami Springs Ludlam Trail, but the Ludlam Trail south of the airport. Okay, so they'll be put to good use.
Yeah.
Okay, call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Behet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez.
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the next agenda item is under new business, 11C, another resolution.
There's a resolution of Mayor and City Council of the City of Miami Springs, Florida, accepting an allocation of $6,970,380 in coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds from the U.S. Department of Treasury under the American Rescue Plan Act, providing an American Rescue Plan Act coronavirus local fiscal recovery fund agreement with the State of Florida Division of Emergency Management, providing for authorization, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve 11C.
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
I just have a great big YES, yay. That's the only thing I'll say on that.
That's right.
And thank you to William and Tammy and the whole staff for being on top of this and keeping us
And I hope
praised
this
of
is a
this. And
unanimous vote.
pardon? And what?
This is a unanimous vote.
It is great news. Just really, really.
Keep
good
the
news.
money coming. It will always be an unanimous vote.
All right, call the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
Councilman Behet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell. Mayor
Yes,
Mitchell. Okay.
yes, sorry.
Thank you. The motion carries.
Okay. Next item is under other business, item 12A. It's a request by myself to provide just a recap of the August 9th council meeting regarding the rapid transit zone. I just wanted to, and I don't want to, I just want to provide a brief recap because I was very grateful that Commissioner Gilbert called that morning and said he wanted to attend the meeting when he saw that it was on our agenda. I provided that information, putting it on a plan to put it on the agenda and provide the information as to that this is a draft that's being kind of circulated around to the cities. Hasn't gone before the county commission, depending on who you talk to. It's not going to go before the county commission, and other people say it will definitely. So I just wanted to let our community know what information William and I had obtained over the summer. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that we will still be really monitoring this. Should it go before the county commission, we will continue this is by no means the end, just because we discussed it at the August 9th meeting. This is still something that is out there. Erica, if you could put the PowerPoint, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands this is something not unique to Miami Springs. We're a really small part of this whole issue. And however, the impact to say that this proposal, should it go the way the draft was written, to say that would negatively impact our city, I think would be to gravely understate it. It's the expression that I keep using is that jaw dropping what this would do to our community, but to a lot of municipalities throughout the city. So I'm very grateful that Vice Chair Gilbert is out talking to the cities and understanding the differences between cities and, which cities perhaps, this would be fitting for and which cities this would not fit at all, would not be appropriate for. And I'm very appreciative that he chose to come to Miami Springs to listen to us.
That's why I think it's on that one.
And made the comments that, that Miami Springs, this would not be appropriate for Miami Springs. It would not, we would not be part of it. Pardon me?
I guess leave it there.
The bird section, which would be the one that would be impacted, yes. So just on this map that I'm showing you, this is Miami-Dade County, and everywhere that's yellow on there is where these rapid transit zone corridors increases would be. So you can see that it goes all the way. We're a tiny little speck. Tammy, if you don't mind pointing, or William, that our little speck is that,
Right there.
no, up top. That one. Yes, that's the bird
All right.
section. That little dot there is the metro rail. Right. So but you can see on the map that this is a much bigger, which that is why the League of Cities has been working together to determine the impact and obviously it would differ from municipality to municipality, but it goes all the way down south past the Dadeland Station and down the busway to Homestead and all the way up the corridor of the Biscayne Boulevard, I-95 kind of area up to Aventura, and all the way up down 8th Street to FIU. So this is a very large area and not just unique to us, and we'll continue to keep on top of it and see, make sure that, that our community is not impacted by this ordinance. Should it go, it's still a proposed, I mean, it's still just a draft. It hasn't been brought before the county commission.
Commissioner Sosa is aware of this already.
Commissioner Sosa is aware of this, and she has said that she would, like she always does, respect the wishes of any of her communities. If they don't want to be included in this, which we certainly wouldn't want to, by any means, that, she would respect that and work with us on that.
Through the chair,
Yes.
for what it's worth. And I said something similar to Commissioner Gilbert when I'm not opposed to rapid transit. I think that what they're thinking is I don't agree with what they're thinking. I think that if they want to increase ridership, they might want to think of connectivity among the different rail systems rather than trying to increase population in a particular station.
Yes.
Because as it is, it's very difficult to get around. As I use my example, although I for the record, retired from Miami-Dade College last week, so it wouldn't help me anyway. But there's no way for me to get to the Kendall campus
Right.
using the rail system, and so that would never attract me. But I think that as the county grows and moves westward more, there might be more folks that would want to use the rail system if there were connectivity, other parts of it that would allow folks to, kind of like in New York City and other places where you can get on one train and switch at another station and catch one going east or west or whatever. That would be, I think, my just 2 cents, more appropriate thinking about rapid transit.
And I think that's what Commissioner Gilbert was doing by, going to the cities and just trying to get their input. And like he explained, this was my understanding, a broad brush first draft, I guess, at looking at this. But, obviously, we were extremely alarmed by it. And that's why, even though it was just a draft and hasn't really been brought before the county commission and may or may not, who knows, I just felt it was important to make sure that our community was aware of it. Okay, so
For instance, just one example, I don't think the rail line goes to the Northern Stadium, does it? Where the Dolphins play?
No,
no.
not yet.
Right. Well, that zone there, if you see that yellow up Northwest 27th Avenue, that would be the intent there. If you see that whole zone going up north, that would be
So they would extend the
future.
train, the rail up there? Presumably, if they could get
according
more
to that
people to live there?
proposal, yeah.
Well, I think
That's
the
kind
idea
of
would
the
be to get people there to attend events. And that would make sense to extend the rail. But anyway.
Okay.
those
All
are
right.
my
So I just wanted to
cents
make
on
sure we're all on the same page, that this is by no means,
Absolutely.
this is still something that we'll continue to very actively monitor and stay on top of,
Mayor,
along
Through
with
the
our
chair?
city
you-
attorney and city manager. Yes.
if you don't mind, just for the record, because the Chairman Gilbert did say that the bird section being a residential area would not be part of the rapid transit zone ordinance. But for the record, although he didn't want us to say exempt, he did mention that the Abraham tract would not be a part of it because it wasn't feasible because of its proximity to the airport. Just to put that on the record, because
Yes.
we don't want to.
Yes, well, the airport, right, limits the height, so they're limited by that
Right.
just because of, and it's within the flight zone, so
Yep.
the airport itself has its own zoning requirements near it. Okay, the next agenda item is a request by Councilwoman Bravo for the board's Parks and Parkways to evaluate various matters related to city parks.
Okay, so I put in a memorandum on the agenda tonight. So basically what I would like to recommend is that we On the next, I don't know if anybody is here present today from, no? Oh, no.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
I would like to recommend that we include an agenda memo on the next Board of Parks and Parkways meeting, whenever it is that they meet, to discuss a couple of items. So one I put here was to discuss and advise on a comprehensive approach to make Reagan Park a functional park with a purpose of benefiting the community and surrounding residents. It's a really nice open area space, which I think that we should give it some definition. Number two, make recommendations to the city if there are any possible lands to potentially acquire as a possible avenue for an additional park or green space in the future. I mean, if we have that accessible to us, that would be great. If not, someone else will get it. Number three, make recommendations of areas within the city on public property and swales that could benefit from deciduous trees, as in oak trees and other canopying trees that will provide ample shaded areas. And number four, inform the city of possible outlets to acquire grant money to fund parks and green space projects. So maybe perhaps they can work on that together with, if we take a future grant writer. The investment benefits to these items above, I noted a few. I know most of you know, but increases the neighborhoods, this mask, curb appeal and property values, promotes protection of Mammy Springs Bird Sanctuary, and provides wildlife habitat, better air and water quality, reduces stormwater runoff, conserves water, reduces soil erosion, extends the life of pavement, because we have a lot of pavement areas here that it gets so hot, like you feel it. Stores carbon, absorbs noise, which is always a plus. Saves energy, for example, the cooling expenses in summer months for both commercial and residential. Enhances community economic stability by attracting businesses. An example, people linger and shop longer along tree-lined streets. Apartment and offices in shaded areas rent more quickly, have higher occupancy rates, and tenants stay longer. It also adds a natural character and impacts mood and emotions, creating feelings of relaxation and well-being. Our city right now, I know it's a tree city, USA. I would like for it to continue more into a tree canopy. I know Maria sees a lot of eye to eye with these items. So I just wanted to get together with the boards and parkways to see how we can generate some ideas to really implement trees where we can. And like I said, on those 4 items there, that would be nice to follow up with that. Because I see trees go down and then I don't see them come up. And we also have that flooding, which with the storm surge, all that infrastructure that's going to go on with those projects is going to be a huge benefit. But I would like to see, like we mentioned before in the budget meetings, we have the budget for trees and all that. I like to see that executed. One thing I wanted to ask you, William, I didn't ask you before, if there was any way possible to know how many trees it was that we maybe planted last year or anything, and where they were planted.
They keep track of all
Yeah.
the number of trees planted last year, yeah.
Yeah. And then what I mean by deciduous trees is not shrubbery trees, oak trees, canopizing trees.
I think they have Public Works has a list of the flowering trees, and they don't put in fruit trees, but it's flowering trees and certain
They
that.
do. And I looked at all of them.
Or maybe it's the fruit trees, but there's certain set of trees and they have to have a certain diameter, I didn't really know it till not that long ago, a few years back, that I found out that trees come in quality.
Yeah.
They have to be a certain quality, not just trunk size, but a certain quality of just like fruits and, different things that they grade them. And so we have to get that. So Public Works
this
has
would-
that list of the things.
Yeah, and having that little curb appeal that in our city, anywhere we can look, it really helps to increase property values, which will definitely contribute to our
course.
general ledger, at the end of the day.
I would like to add
Yeah.
one thing to that, and I had something, I was going to bring it to the Parks Board, but we can add it to that if it's something that actually one of my students at the university proposed of making little tiny native forest, which are very tiny, but so it's something that we can pass on. I told her I was going to bring it to the Parks Board and
Okay.
for their review and see if that's a possibility. And it's in very tiny places where you create with native trees, native forest, that the biodiversity in there is just astounding. So it's something for them to look at too. And I was going to bring it to their next meeting. So is everyone in agreement to
Yes.
just
Yes.
through the council to pass?
Sure.
Okay, I'll accept the motion. Motion to submit this to the Parks Board.
Motion to move it.
Okay,
Second.
second. All right, take the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Best,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bravo,
Yes.
Councilman Fahet,
Yes.
Councilman Vasquez,
Yes.
Mayor Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And one thing I wanted to add with that, for the next budget meeting, I had planned to ask what, since we're looking at our wish list, is of increasing our new tree fund, if that's a possibility, since we've decreased it the past, or kept it low the past 2 years. And now with the funding that we're getting, the $6 million, it sounds like so much, and
Seven.
it'll go so
It'll go
quickly.
fast.
Just, I
We got-
know.
See you.
Yeah, but we gotta,
Unfortunately.
we gotta keep our crayons in the
Right,
box now, you know?
The next meeting
See if we
for,
can go back to where we were a few years prior, that we had a larger new tree fund, but that'll be a budget that we can discuss
Yep.
that.
the next meeting for the Parks Board is September 14th at 5
September
p.m.
14th.
So it'll be on their agenda by then.
So you'll put this on their agenda,
Yes.
this request. Okay, great. Thank you, Councilwoman Bravo.
Yes.
And the next, under new business, 12C, request by city manager to discuss commemorating our 20th anniversary of 9/11. How can it be 20
Yes, Mayor and
years?
Council, I just passed the latest itinerary that I had Omar and his staff and I have been working on this for the last couple of weeks. And we've come up with a basic program for that day. And I listed it
Yeah.
by time so that we worked
Oh,
it
wow.
out so that at 8:46 a.m., which is the time that the first plane hit, we can have a moment of silence. And then
Different.
as you see there, we'll have, we invited Father Matias Hualpa. He's the new pastor of Blessed Trinity.
Yes.
He'll do the invocation. Councilman Bob Best has graciously accepted to be MC again. And then we're gonna have a poem, a 9/11 poem recited by Chief Guzman. And as you can see here, we decided to hold the event in front, on Park Street, in front of the police station and the fire station. Because that's very, we thought it was noteworthy to honor those two groups that day. And so we're planning to start at 8:15 on that day. And hopefully if everything goes well, we'll have, after the moment of silence, we'll have taps, we'll set out wreaths in front of the police station and the fire station. And then by 8:55, the ceremony will conclude.
Excellent.
Okay, any questions for the city manager on this?
I think it's certainly appropriate that the manager saw fit to put a program together of this nature for the 20th anniversary. Yeah.
It's really nice. Yes, it looks really nice. Okay, let's move on to reports and recommendations. Heidi from our city attorney.
Just hope everybody had a great first day back to school, especially those of you who are educators, Councilman Fahet. And hope everybody in the community is healthy and moving forward with this new school year.
Thank you, Heidi.
Heidi, how you doing?
I am getting larger, 31 weeks pregnant today.
Good, you look great.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I do have a question for.
Yes, sir.
Heidi, I was, in fact, having a conversation with William about this earlier before our meeting, and he recommended I raise it to you, so I'm going to raise it and I actually add to it. So, and it has to do with appropriateness and the kind of information that we could share with, in this particular case, the new Economic Development and Business Advisory Board. I understand that the board is going to meet on September 2nd. Is that still
It's a tentative, yes.
tentative date?
Mhm.
Okay. And this board in particular, a number of us had some really lots of things to say about this matter. And of course, September 2nd or whenever it is that they meet. And this ties back a little bit to the point that the mayor made earlier about boards reporting and having conversations with boards. I thought this would be a great idea to share some thoughts with the new board in terms of what is our vision, right? And here's where the rub is, right? So, what could we say to a new board like this? Say if we attended board meetings, I know we're encouraged not to get too involved in the board meetings, but you can attend but not get involved in the discussions. But because in this particular case, it's a new board meeting, it's starting out, how appropriate would it be for us to share, broadly speaking, our, I don't know, hopes, ideas, broadly speaking, what would be appropriate, if at all?
So it's fine for you to share. I think what we can do is work with the city clerk to notice the meeting, so that it can be noticed that members of the council may be in attendance, and that way you avoid any sunshine issues. But I think that I would start the meeting probably with an introduction by Mayor Mitchell, presumably, with a copy of the resolution to all of the board members and a discussion about what the goals of that board are. And to the extent any of you wish to attend and provide comment, I'm certain that would be welcome. But I think as long as we notice it, we can avoid any hurdles.
We had talked about that the first meeting, we would all be there to welcome them and let them know they have our support, but we want them to honestly look at this and
sure,
figure out whatever they need to address, to figure out how to attract, what kinds of new businesses we should be attracting, the council should be trying to attract to the Springs, and how we can help our existing businesses thrive, which I think are the two main issues, and what the city council and the city can do to help in those regards. So ideally, we will all be there for the first meeting to introduce ourselves, and perhaps Councilman Best, Vice Mayor Best, since you're always so eloquent with words by far, much more eloquent than I am, you would
Stop
speak
it.
and
Yeah,
give a
well,
few words.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Well, I wanted to get the,
So Erica, if
input
you could
from the
let us
counselor
know.
and
No, I
make sure
think
that we're
that's excellent,
Equal.
Councilman Vasquez. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. So we'll be noticed on this.
Yes, we have it scheduled for September 2nd at 6 o'clock here.
Okay.
So,
What day of the week is that?
it's a Thursday, I think.
Thursday.
yeah, I think so.
I will not be able to make September 2nd.
Okay, let me see. It is Thursday?
It's not.
That's my
Are you
15-year wedding anniversary.
Oh.
Okay.
It's Thursday.
Good for you.
I work the next day.
We haven't made the meeting.
All right, let's do the city manager.
Yes, and Council, as you know, today we started our Haiti Relief Fund at the community center from 4 to 9 p.m. And as you saw from the pictures, it was as of about 6 o'clock, we had a lot of donations. So keep them coming. We'll keep that going until they tell us to stop. So that will be ongoing for about the next week or two. And remember, tomorrow we have vaccinations at the Aquatic Center. They'll be given the third booster shot for people that are immunocompromised.
Is that required? Excuse me, William, do you need a doctor's excuse saying you're, or what?
No, I asked the Florida
How
Health Department. They're gonna have a form there. It's called an informed consent form. People are gonna be required to sign, but no doctor's note is required, so.
Thank you.
And of course, they'll have first and second dose Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson available tomorrow. And as you know, today, Pfizer received full approval from the FDA. So that's another reason for some of those that were worried about vaccinations. It's now fully approved. So And that's all you have?
Yeah, no, those are the two things I had. so.
Okay,
Okay, great.
that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we have one other thing, but I guess that's later. The mammograms with Representative
That's,
Avila.
yeah, that's gonna, I sent you the flyer today that they sent us. That's gonna be October 23rd. And they're going to be doing free mammograms to women over 40 that are uninsured.
Again, I'm always amazed at how much our community does for, because these things are not just for our residents. They're available to everyone, and we're so centrally located. So our tiny little community does so much for everyone, for our residents and for everyone else too. Okay, City Council, let's start this time with this side.
Oh,
Councilman
thank you.
Vasquez.
Thank you. I was always last in school, except for Linda Warsaw, who used to sit behind me. We were always the last one.
Oh, because of your last name?
Because of last name, because everything was by last names, yeah. And so I was always like, well, okay. I don't have much, but I did have one note that you raised it, and that was the, and thank you for reminding Erica and the rest of us about beginning to extend the invitations to the boards and commissions to come in. I think that's great. I think we can, in a few months, we can really do a nice round of conversation. And I think I got one or two more boards I need to appoint to, but my economic development board, the two folks are there. And I see from the diversity of the group, it's a pretty interesting group. I'm
It is
looking
a
forward
very
to
interesting group.
what they're going to do. I wouldn't want to be the chair. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really wish them well. The other thing is that, thinking about the 95th birthday of the city, and while it's probably going to be up to the next council or the council after that to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the city, it's never too early to start talking about what kind of commemoration we would like to have. So I'm not suggesting a commemorative committee at this point, but I think it's important that we might want to think about it because 5 years goes by pretty fast. And that's going to be a very special moment in this county, not just in our city. So I'm just putting a bug in, I don't know who's here, but I'm for the record that we might want to start thinking about that. And that's all I have. Well, my son started college today.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah,
where's
the
he
last
going?
of the Mohicans, Miami-Dade College,
Oh, good.
Hialeah campus, but he's online. So really looking forward to that. I have no more high school, middle school, elementary
Good.
school kids.
Now you're fully retired, right?
But
No more work? Fully retired?
if I
You're
tell you the
working more
agenda
now
my
than-
wife has, no. I am. I'm actually struggling now that you mention that. Because I've lost the structure
Sure.
of the day.
Okay.
So time gets away and I don't do as much. I mean, I do my city stuff, which is fine. I'll have more time for that, but keep reminding myself I got to structure my day before my wife thinks of something else.
Nice. She'll structure it for you.
And just to get out of the house, right? Just to get outside for periods of time. So
Councilman Behet.
Thank you. Yeah, so not much, just thank you. Happy 95th birthday to the city of Miami Springs, and just wishing well to all the other schools. Today was the first day of school, first day back where you had everybody in person in about 18 months. So I know that all my fellow school personnel are exhausted this evening, so I'm glad that we're ending early because we're probably going to fall asleep early. But I think it went without a hitch, and I wish well for everybody. And let's just all try our best to get vaccinated and get through this. Hopefully it'll only be another few months and we'll be back to normal.
everyone shaved their beards and dyed their hair.
No, I don't really have anything to report. Just thank you, William, for incorporating the memorabilia for September 11th and adding it to our list of events. That's basically it. And
Vice Mayor?
I can see why you don't like going last. So it's all been said.
Steal your
Happy
thunder.
birthday, 95. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for being here as always. I know a lot of work gets done behind the scenes too. And this council, I think, is very available and receptive always to our community and I know the residents appreciate it and the city staff does too. And I, of course, do. So with that, happy birthday, Miami Springs.
Oh, yeah.
This meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good night.
23
Today.
today,
August
Yep.
today is the actual day.
Next Monday,
1926.
workshop Monday, budget.
Yes, the budget on
Mike,
Monday.
another
Some
piece.
more?
I need the middle.
Get
I
another
need a
piece.
middle piece. Here, Mikey, you want to take this one?
Did you get one, Mikey? Take this to your mother, because if I take this home, I'm going to eat it.
Let's see if it makes it.